What if I told you one factory could change the way America stores energy forever? Not in theory, not in a government report. Right now, on a production floor the size of 40 football fields, deep inside a building that never sleeps, never fully stops, and never slows down. This is happening today, and most people have never heard of it. America is in the middle of a transformation so large, so fast, and so expensive that the infrastructure holding it together is being built almost in real time. Electric vehicles are flooding showrooms. Renewable energy farms are spreading across the desert Southwest. AI data centers are drawing more power than entire cities, and the electrical grid, the backbone of this country, is being pushed to its absolute limit. The one thing all of these systems need more than anything else? Batteries. Not the kind you put in a remote control. We are talking about cells capable of storing megawatts of energy. Cells that can power a 60,000-pound truck for 300 miles. Cells that can keep a hospital running when the grid goes dark. Cells that can absorb the surge of a solar farm at noon and release it slowly through the night. The demand for this technology is not growing gradually. It is accelerating at a rate that has engineers and energy planners genuinely alarmed. And there is one place right in the heart of America where the answer is being manufactured, one cell at a time.
I'm standing outside the main entrance, and honestly, the scale of this place is hard to process. The building stretches so far in both directions, you literally cannot see the ends of it from here. They told me over 10,000 people work on this site. Let that sink in.
From the outside, it looks like an enormous warehouse. Clean lines, minimal signage, a parking lot that never seems empty. But what happens inside this building is one of the most precise and demanding manufacturing operations ever attempted on American soil. This is a gigafactory, a battery mega facility purpose-built to produce lithium-based energy cells at industrial scale. Every single day, this factory converts raw powder into cells that will power cars, trucks, homes, and entire sections of the electrical grid. Here is the crazy part. The factory does not just assemble batteries, it builds them from the absolute beginning. From raw mineral to finished cell, every step happens under one roof. That is the whole point. That is what makes this place different. Let's start at the beginning. The first thing that arrives at this facility is not a machine part or a component. It is powder, lithium carbonate, nickel sulfate, manganese oxide, graphite, iron phosphate. These are the raw chemical building blocks of modern battery technology. They arrive in sealed drums and pressurized containers, trucked in from refineries and processing plants across North America and beyond. Some of these materials travel from mines in Chile, Australia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo before reaching this factory floor. And that supply chain is one of the most critical vulnerabilities in the entire operation. Because right now, a significant portion of the world's battery-grade materials are processed and refined outside the United States. In China, specifically, the team running this facility knows that. They are working to change it, but we will come back to that.
They just let me into the raw materials handling area.
The smell is chemical but clean, almost like a pharmaceutical plant.
Workers in protective gear are moving drums of lithium compound on forklifts.
One of the engineers here told me that the purity of this powder has to be almost perfect before it even enters the mixing stage. One wrong batch can contaminate thousands of cells downstream.
The first stage of production is called electrode manufacturing, and it begins with mixing. The raw powders are combined with binders and solvents to create a thick chemical slurry. Think of it like a highly controlled industrial batter. The consistency, temperature, particle size, and chemical ratios must all be exact. Automated mixers the size of small rooms churn these materials under precisely monitored conditions. Sensors check the mixture every few seconds. Then comes coating. The slurry is applied in microscopically thin layers onto rolls of copper foil for the negative electrode and aluminum foil for the positive electrode. These coating machines are enormous. Some of them stretch over 100 meters in length. The foil moves through the machine at high speed while the slurry is applied with tolerances measured in microns. A human hair is roughly 70 microns wide. The tolerance window on these electrode coatings is smaller than that. After coating comes drying. The solvent has to be removed from the slurry without disturbing the structure of the coating. The foil passes through massive thermal ovens where temperature is controlled with surgical precision. Too hot, and the electrode degrades. Too cold, and the solvent remains, which creates defects that will only appear later inside a finished cell, possibly after it has been installed in a vehicle. Then calendaring. The dried electrode sheet is pressed between heavy rollers to achieve the correct density. This step determines how much energy the electrode can store and how efficiently it can release that energy. The pressure applied is enormous. The consistency required is almost unimaginable. Then the sheets are cut into precise shapes, thousands of them per hour.
I'm right next to the calendaring line, and you can actually feel the vibration in the floor from these rollers. The electrode sheets coming out look almost like metallic film, thin and shiny and moving very fast. A technician here told me they measure the coating thickness after every roll. If anything is off by even a fraction of a micron, that batch gets flagged automatically.
Now here is where the manufacturing gets genuinely extreme. Cell assembly happens inside what engineers call dry rooms. These are sealed production environments where the humidity is kept so low it would feel physically painful to stand in without protection. The moisture level inside a dry room is equivalent to the driest desert on Earth, sometimes lower. Why does moisture matter so much? Because lithium is chemically reactive with water. Even trace amounts of humidity in the air during cell assembly can trigger chemical reactions inside the battery that will quietly destroy it from the inside. The damage is invisible at first, but under the stress of charging and discharging, the affected cells begin to fail. They lose capacity. In extreme cases, they enter thermal runaway. Inside these dry rooms, robotic arms move with millimeter precision. Electrode sheets are stacked or wound into precise formations called jelly rolls or prismatic stacks, depending on the cell format. Separators, ultra-thin polymer membranes, are placed between each electrode layer to prevent short circuits while allowing ions to pass through. The entire assembly process is monitored by AI-assisted vision systems capable of detecting defects invisible to the human eye, microscopic alignment errors, separator wrinkles, edge damage. Every single cell is scanned multiple times before it advances to the next stage.
I'm outside the dry room viewing window right now. You can see the robotic assembly happening through the glass. Workers have to go through an airlock just to enter, and they wear specialized suits. The air quality inside is so tightly controlled that even bringing in an ordinary piece of paper is considered a contamination risk.
After assembly comes one of the most fascinating and least talked about steps in battery manufacturing: formation. Every battery cell has to receive its first charge, and that first charge is not simple. It is slow, controlled, carefully monitored. During formation, the electrodes and electrolyte react and form what is called the solid electrolyte interface, or SEI layer. This layer is critical. It protects the electrode material during future charge cycles. If it forms correctly, the battery will perform reliably for years. If it forms incorrectly, the battery will degrade faster than expected. Formation racks fill entire rooms in this facility. Thousands of cells connected to charging equipment, cycling through their first charge and discharge sequences under precise voltage and temperature control. It can take days. Every cell generates data throughout this process. That data is captured, stored, and analyzed. This is also where quality diverges. Cells that pass formation testing go on to module and pack assembly. Cells that fail are identified, isolated, and removed from the line. Some are sent to the testing lab for analysis. Engineers need to understand exactly why a cell failed, because the answer might indicate a problem much further back in the production line.
I'm in the quality control lab, and it is genuinely impressive. They have X-ray machines that can see inside a sealed cell without opening it.
Thermal imaging cameras track heat signatures across entire battery modules. One engineer here told me they are looking for anything irregular. A void in the electrode, a microscopic separator defect.
Now the cells move into module assembly. Dozens or hundreds of individual cells are grouped together, connected with precision bus bars, and enclosed in structural housings. Sensors and battery management electronics are integrated at this stage. The module controls temperature, balances charge across cells, monitors voltage, and communicates with the vehicle or grid system it will eventually power. Then modules become packs. For electric vehicles, battery packs are enormous structural components. They form the floor of the car. They must be both strong and light. They must survive crash impacts, temperature extremes, vibration, and years of daily charging. For grid storage applications, packs are assembled into steel enclosures the size of shipping containers and connected in arrays that can store megawatts of power. The finished packs leaving this facility go into electric trucks, passenger vehicles, commercial fleets, residential storage systems, and large-scale utility projects across America. This is where the factory connects to the real world. And the scale of that connection is staggering. Our safety PHY is built into every level of this operation. The engineering team has invested heavily in thermal runaway prevention. Each cell design is tested to destruction in dedicated safety chambers. Engineers trigger thermal runaway deliberately under controlled conditions to understand exactly how a failure propagates and how to contain it. The data from those tests feeds back into both the cell chemistry and the pack design. Because one thing the industry has learned the hard way is that a battery pack in a vehicle or a grid storage unit is not just an engineering challenge. It is a safety responsibility. Now let us talk about the supply chain problem. Because no matter how good this factory gets at manufacturing, it depends on materials that still largely come from outside the United States. Lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, graphite. These are not materials America produces in abundance today. The mining operations, the refining capacity, and the chemical processing infrastructure required to produce battery-grade materials domestically are still being built. This is where battery recycling enters the story. At one end of this facility, there is a growing recycling operation. End-of-life battery packs come in. They are disassembled, shredded, and processed through a series of chemical and thermal treatments to recover lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, and copper. The recovered materials are refined back to battery grade and reintroduced into the production line. It is not a perfect loop, not yet, but it is closing. Every pound of lithium recovered from a recycled battery is 1 pound less that needs to be mined abroad, shipped across oceans, and processed through foreign supply chains. The team here understands that energy independence is not just about building solar panels and wind farms. It is about controlling the supply chain of the materials that store the energy those systems generate.
I'm at the logistics yard at the far end of the campus. Finished battery packs are being loaded onto flatbed trucks right behind me. Some of these are going to vehicle assembly plants. Some are going directly to energy storage project sites across the country. The scale of what moves out of here every single day is something you really have to see to believe.
Step back and think about what this factory actually represents. America is building more renewable energy capacity than at any point in its history. Wind and solar projects are coming online across the Midwest, the Southwest, and the coasts. But renewable energy without storage is incomplete energy. The sun does not always shine when you need power. The wind does not always blow when demand peaks. You need somewhere to put that energy when it is abundant, and a way to release it when it is needed. Batteries are that solution. Not just for cars, not just for phones, for the entire electrical infrastructure of a modern civilization. AI data centers alone are projected to consume a staggering amount of electricity over the next decade. That demand does not stop at night. It does not pause on weekends. It requires continuous, reliable, high-capacity power, and the grid systems that support those facilities will increasingly depend on battery storage to stay stable. This factory is not a side project. It is not an experiment. It is industrial infrastructure. It is as important to the next 50 years of American energy as oil refineries and natural gas pipelines were to the last 50. The robots on this floor, the dry rooms, the formation racks, the quality control labs, the recycling lines, they are all part of one enormous machine that is rewriting how America powers itself. And this is just the beginning. This facility is already expanding. New production lines are being added. Capacity is being scaled. The engineers here talk about the next generation of cell chemistry, solid-state batteries, silicon anodes, sodium-ion systems, with the same urgency that engineers once talked about the transistor. Because they know something that most people outside this building do not yet fully understand. The country that masters battery technology does not just build better electric cars. It controls the energy future. What is being built inside this factory, cell by cell, layer by layer, micron by micron, is not just a product. It is the foundation of a new America,